axes and some of the bigger fun things in blacksmithing, it's best to start making nails and understand how to use the hammer and move a piece of hot steel in the direction you want it to go.
How long have you been doing it?
I started about 10 years ago. I had a class in college in blacksmithing, and that's what got me into this. And so I moved here from Indiana about 7 years ago to become the apprentice blacksmith of this shop. So I had a real neat opportunity to learn from a guy named Doc Cudd. If any of you have ever been here before, you've probably seen Doc in this shop working. He's been our master blacksmith for 13 years. But he just retired this January, so I was asked to take over this facility. Keep this shop going. So we do a lot of different things in here. I mean, most of the days, recently I've been working on stuff for the gift shop next door. That's part of our job, is providing goods for sale. But I also like to make things for Biltmore whenever the need arises. So there are times when things might break. Even in the Biltmore house, we've had things break before, like chandeliers, original stuff. And so there are times when Biltmore house needs a blacksmith to come and do a historical restoration and rebuild something to the exact specs that the blacksmiths did 120 years ago.
What's on task for today?
I'm working on, this is kind of a prototype, using my rose that I've been working at. So this is my main assignment, folks. This is what I do about every day, is make a rose coat hook. And so that's what they sell in the gift shop right there. And so I'm taking that rose and trying to make other things from it. So today I've got a coat rack I'm working on. So try to take a little different approach to the roses. We've got a rose on each end. I've forged out 6 hooks that'll be riveted to these flat spots here. So my next move is I'm going to heat this up, and where I've ball peened those little flat spots, right where I've divoted the marks, we're going to flatten those 4 out, and then I can drill my holes, we'll rivet each hook to it. So I'm trying to finish this project today. I would love to see that done. We'll see how today goes.
You put those just like that on those?
Actually, see, kind of similar, something. I got them right here. They're a little bit smaller, same concept, but something like that's going to rivet right to it. So that's just a simple little piece that I've got 6 that are pretty similar in size. You know, I had to make about 8 or 9 of them to get 6 good ones. You know, when you're trying to get 6 exactly the same, it's best to make a pile of them and just pick from it. You know.
How many hours do you think about total on it?
This project, it's taken me a bit longer than I thought it would. I'd say probably total would be like 7-8 hours or so, which is pretty long. I would like to see it about half that time. What I found with this project is it's so awkward because that rod had to begin as almost 60 inches of steel. So I'm used to working 20-inch rods. When you get a 60 piece, it's like, you know, it's kind of, you're just like back here holding it and doing this. Yeah, it was really odd. It didn't feel natural the whole time until now that I've got it shrunk down to that 3 foot or so, it's a little more manageable. But yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to do any long things again. You know,
the flower started as the original piece. It wasn't something that was attached to it.
That's right. So yeah, it started out as part of the rod. So the rose is achieved by flattening 9 to 10 inches of that 3/8 round bar. You flatten it out, and then you come and just. You can do roses all different ways, but that's just the way I was shown about 7 months ago by a visiting blacksmith here in this shop. It was kind of random, but this guy just showed up one day in April and started teaching me how to make a rose. So I had no idea who he was. He was a blacksmith angel, I call him. So.
He was visiting on this side and just said, "Hey, here's how you do it."
Yeah, because I couldn't let him cross the chains, you know. So he just explained to me every step from over there.
That's awesome.
Which was really awkward because usually you're like watching the guy do it, and then you're like, okay, now it's your turn, you know. It was so funny. There was a big crowd here that day too. It was. I kept telling everybody, all right, guys, just so you know, I've never done this before, so please bear with me. You know? And the first rose looked pretty horrible, but
You still have it?
I think it's somewhere around here. It looks kind of like, here's one I made a few months back, like maybe almost halfway through the journey. They were looking pretty bad for a long time, but that was one I made. That was like probably 3.5, 4 months ago.
Yeah.
But that's what they looked like for a long time. And finally, I kind of was able to start capturing a little different approach to it. You know, making those petals flatten out more. I took a pair of pliers and began to peel each petal out. That gave it that bloomed effect.
Right.
So it was all just little things you just add to your process that eventually it starts looking like something you want to actually show people, you know. I have to get the fire hot enough. If the fire's not hot enough, the steel will not reach the softness that I need. So I have to achieve over 2,000 degrees in this fire to really start getting the steel to be very soft so I can work it with my tools.
Should it be starting the fire?
You guys see what a difference that blower makes,
Yeah.
right? I'm barely even cranking that thing, and you're seeing the effects of some efficient technology. This was a pretty modern forge for 1902. A lot of blacksmiths still have the old bellows in their shops.
Yeah.
Not everyone had this hand crank fan.
Wow.
If you could afford this in 1902, this is kind of, you know, whatever, what all the newer shops were setting these up. Part of their operation.
You ever cost of one of those back then?
Yeah, actually, I just saw a catalog not long ago. It was from 1909, so a little bit later, but it was about $44, $46 for one of these.
Wow.
Somewhere in there, which, when you know that the day laborers in the Biltmore house in the 1890s were making $1 a day for a 10-hour shift, you begin to think, okay, $45 is quite a bit of money. You know?
Why do you need to turn that thing?
Well, that's
It's air
pumping
in
air to the fire.
See?
So there's a fan right in this box. That fan is spinning. When I move this arm, it's moving a fan. It's pulling in air from the room, and it's pushing it very quickly down that green pipe and going up underneath this fire. So you notice when I stop the fan,
Yeah, I
the
see
fire will
that.
just disappear in a matter of a few minutes. But with constant airflow, this will maintain the fire for the rest of the day. I will have this fire blazing till about 4:30 today.
Wow. It says that when he takes them out, he puts them in
Right now, this is
or
kind of like
quench
the preheating the oven
And it
stage.
gets it
It's just like when you're baking at home,
Cools it
you gotta
off so
preheat
it
your
can-
oven before you put the cookies in it. Well, I gotta preheat this oven before I put my steel in it. I'm gonna preheat it by getting it hot enough, and all way I can tell it's hot enough is based on the color that I see. Everything in blacksmithing is based upon your eye. Understanding how to read the colors. The colors tell you everything you need to know, really, about when to heat the steel up, when to cool the steel, when to stop hammering. So I want to see a nice bright yellow down inside this fire to tell me that we're getting a good spot for heat. I've got a few modern conveniences here. So this product right here, guys, this is called coke, and what's nice about the coke is it burns pretty much smokeless. So you'll notice, mostly from this point out, there won't be a lot of smoke coming out of this fire. There'll be a lot of heat. Hotter than regular coal, this fire can achieve. For a run, you know, you got to stretch a little bit as a blacksmith, and so I'm going to stretch out by making a nail real quick. It's a great way to use up scrap material that is left from the previous day. So this rod, yesterday, it appears I was making an S hook, I believe, out of this rod yesterday. We had a bunch of school kids here yesterday, so usually when the 4th, 5th grade classes are here hanging out with me, I'll make an S hook, something quick that I can demonstrate to them. Well, it takes about 10 minutes to make. Because the rows I do takes more like 30, 40 minutes to make a rose. So I like people to be able to see something start to finish if they can.
Wow.
So this rod needs to be cut first, so it's a little bit, there's kind of some nasty stuff on the end that got kind of mained in the fire, got too hot. So I'm gonna cut off that burn end, and then we'll start drawing down what's left to make a nail. Hello, that's kind of more what I want to see, because now that's gonna start achieving a good heat here soon on the steel.
Wow. Whoa.
I just want to cut off a small piece. I'm going to use this tool called a hot cut right here to achieve that. This is kind of the easiest way to remove a piece of steel as a blacksmith. I just cut a notch in it. Just kind of leave a little safety hinge on it there. So now we've got a nice sort of flattened end. That'll be good to work with, because the nail is going to be just a matter of taking this 3/8 round and drawing it down is the word we use, or tapering the piece down to that nice square point and make them. Start to taper, and I'm putting a little notch right up here. That will become the head of the nail right there in the next few minutes.
Wow.
You can see how the body of the nail needs to be tapered down a little bit more from that point.
See that? Hey guys, have you ever seen
As
the
I'm
nails
hammering,
in
some
our
of you
old
might have
house?
noticed it's kind of
Remember
like
the
a
nails
rhythm
stuck
to
in
the
our old
beat.
house?
So
Oh,
I
yeah.
do that for a
That's
couple
what they look
reasons.
like. You'll see in a minute.
One is just on my arm is what I'm doing there. Sometimes it gives my eyes a moment to readjust to where the next hit needs to fall. Alright, that's just about the right size nail.
Yep.
Now this tool is very important. This is called a nail header. That's going to allow me to actually peen over the head of this nail. But first we're going to go back to the hot cut. This needs to be cut and separated from the rod. So I don't melt that in the fire.
What was it called to cool it? You remember? Quench. It said quench.
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 I need to know that word. It's on my video game. I can look up
You can imagine how busy this shop must have
thirsty
been in
the dogs are,
1902.
and now I
Just
know
with
what
all
quenched means.
Back then there were 16 horse stalls here at the barn. So all the draft horses for the entire estate were right here. If a blacksmith was lucky, he could make horseshoes from, he might have bar steel already manufactured coming to him. If he wasn't so lucky, he might only have square bar left in his storage, and so you would take that square bar and make it flat bar, and then take the flat bar and make a horseshoe. So you just imagine the journey that piece had to go on sometimes was quite a bit. Kind of the same thing as before. I'm going to cut it almost all the way.
Wow.
I think one more heat is going to be, I better give it one more heat, because I want that head, that little hunk of steel there, to be really soft. Because you'll notice in a second, I've got to mush it down completely. And so, when you get it bright yellow, the steel, sometimes it feels like a piece of Play-Doh kind of mushing under the hammer. You can really tell that you're working it at the right temperature because of just how soft it is. That'll make that a little bit softer.
There it is.
All right, time to finish off the nail here.
1 meter.
I'm make sure it's nice and straight before I cool it off. Give it usually a couple more taps are necessary just to be sure everything's right. Now you can amp it. All right, guys, so only 1,000 more to go before lunch. I'm just kidding. You guys can hold that if you'd like there. It's all cooled off. See how fast the water cools that steel? It's pretty impressive how quick it all happens.
Stainless steel, right?
That is amazing.
I'm sorry, what? Stainless steel. Stainless steel.
That gave me
Miles.
terrible.
Do you want to pass it?